Over the past few years, a new word has entered our lexicon, YOLO, which stands for You Only Live Once. Well, for many people, it's a motto. Another way to say live life to the fullest. But others say there's more to life than just yourself. So what is the real purpose to life? We asked Scott Ross to find out.
What's the purpose in life? There's a big question for you to think about.
Oh, geez.
Well, it is.
I don't know, live life to the fullest and be happy.
Do you think generally overall that people have a problem coming to an understanding of why they're here on the planet? Finding their motive in life?
I think it's definitely hard to find like what you want to do. It's definitely a hard decision that you're going to make for the rest of your life.
I feel like the purpose in life is to find one.
The purpose in life is to find one.
Yeah. Your purpose in life is going to be different from mine.
Do you think about that for your own life, your purpose and why you're on the planet?
I mean, just to have fun and have a good career and do something that you like to do.
Do you ever, is God part of the equation in your life at all?
Yes, I'm a Christian.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
So in terms of your career, you pray to the Lord about that?
Right.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
The purpose of my life.
Yeah, why you're living. You're here for a reason, right?
Yeah, everybody has their reason.
Okay, what's yours?
I don't know yet. I guess I'll find out when I finish school and I start my career.
Our culture tends to steer us into things that they tell us we should do. Things like for money rather than for passion or for, finding what's your mission and what's good for you and what your gifts are.
So you're motivated by that passion?
I am.
Yeah, define success.
Success is finding God's will for your life or your higher power, finding that. And success is giving that back to society.
So serving others.
Serving others through your gifts.
Well, joining us for more is Caroline Barnett. She's the co-founder of the l.a.dream Center and the author of the new book, Willing to Walk on Water. Caroline, welcome to the 700 Club.
Thank you so much for having me.
How would you answer that question? What is the purpose to life?
Well, our purpose is to know God, to understand His love for us, and then start acting like Him. And so I believe every Christian in some capacity has been called by God to act as His hands and feet in some way. And so I think we find our greatest joy when we find what that purpose is.
Yeah. You talk in the book about the concept of triggers. What is a trigger and how does that work?
Well, as we act as God's ambassador and we find our capacity of how we want to serve and how much we can serve, I believe God's given us a trigger in life. And, because we've been loved on by Christ, of course, every injustice breaks our heart, right? What doesn't bring us to tears?
Yes.
But what the trigger is when you hear about that injustice or you see it and you think, I can't know this is happening and not do something about it. Yeah. And I believe that's your trigger. I found my trigger when I was 18. I was working at the Dream Center as a volunteer, and I was called by a social worker who was telling me there was a family in need of food not too far away. And at the time, you had to come to us to receive. And so I drove over and I brought some food, and as soon as I walked in, what I saw changed my life. It was a mom, 25, with 8 kids. 8 kids.
Oh, my word.
And most of them were just in their diapers or underwear. There was no furniture other than some couch cushions on the floor. And as soon as we walked in, the kids jumped in our arms and started eating raw zucchini. I thought, how hungry are these kids that they would eat raw zucchini?
And she had no means of getting to the Dream Center for food.
Absolutely not. And so when I was face to face with a hungry child, when I was in the home of a hungry child, I smelled the smells, I heard the cries, I felt the fear. Then I understood my trigger was to make a difference in this area. And so I came back to the Dream Center and said, hey, you know what? People who are really in need of food need us to bring it to them. They have no way of getting to us. And so we started our mobile food banks then 17 years ago, and we reach up to 50,000 people every month.
There's amazing work going on at the l.a.dream Center. Talk a little bit, though, for people who don't live in L.A. and can't get to the Dream Center to participate. How do we find these triggers? Because you were out there, you were open, you were serving, you were looking, you were listening. How do we find the trigger for our lives?
Well, see, and I didn't understand how passionate I was. Like the gentleman was just saying, it's our passion that makes up, and when it's a passion, it's work that doesn't feel like work. But again, go try different things based on your level of willingness, how much time you have to give. Go try different organizations that already exist with the time that you have, and wait for that passion to ignite in your life.
Yeah, you know, sometimes I think people look at someone else's passion and they say, well, I can't do that because, and they have a legitimate reason why they can't. But there is a way to find that passion for every individual, right?
Right, and again, when it's a passion, you find time for it, and it gets you excited about life, a reason to get up a little earlier in the morning and be happy about it. It just makes your entire life better when you're serving in this cause.
You know, Scott was asking people what their purpose in life was, and very often when we turn the table and ask God things, the question that comes up is, why do bad things happen in the lives of good people or anybody when God is good? You asked God that, and his answer really touched your life.
Well, it's the purpose behind this book. I felt I was asking the same question a lot of Christians ask. You know, I was at a breaking point. I'd been working at the Dream Center for 9 years, so I understood how broken our world was. I had a glimpse of the darkness, but I watched the documentary about the kids fighting as soldiers in Africa, being forced to kill other children, and it was one of those moments when I was so broken, devastated, crying my eyes out, and I felt the world was beyond wicked. There was no hope for it. The devil was winning, and God didn't care. And so that night I was just praying out to God, God, why? Why are you letting this happen? Why aren't you doing something about it? He so sweetly reminded me, he said, Caroline, I sent my son Jesus to pay for the sin of what you just saw so that there'd be hope for redemption. I sent my son Jesus for the healing that needs to take place. In my word, I have guaranteed you success, and in my word, I've promised to protect and to provide. So why are you letting it happen? And it dawned on me. God has already given us everything we need to change this world, including creating us with our gifts and talents in order to not just scratch the surface of issues, but solve them.
And to be the answer. You know, we saw some of that happening in what we saw going on in Israel earlier with the research and people who are creating, through the wisdom given of God, answers to people's great need. How important is the willingness aspect to this?
Well, that was such a joy for me. As I was studying the Word, I'm a very analytical person, and when God revealed to me that it's our fault, He's already given us everything we need, I thought, well, what does that mean for us? What does that mean for our everyday life? Because that's a very overwhelming revelation, right? You know, you start looking up all the statistics of who's suffering around the world, and the number seems overwhelming. But God showed me then that all He needs is our willingness. Our willingness is more than enough. If we give Him our willingness, He'll do the miraculous, and we can change this world.
There's another concept you talk about in the book that I think is so significant and also helps us find our passion and kind of motivates us, and that's brokenness. How did God use that in your life?
Well, you know, every time I'm on the streets and I see the hurting, there hasn't been one time that I didn't think, no wonder you ended up in your circumstances. No wonder you made the choices that you made. And, you know, I've been hearing testimonies for 17 years at the Dream Center, and I still cry every single time because it's so amazing that God is able. You will hear the most devastating past, most gut-wrenching story, and yet they're on stage smiling, thanking God for His goodness and what He's done in His life. God is able. He's doing miracles today, and it's exciting to be a part of it.
The Dream Center really started, I mean, it all starts with the vision for something that doesn't yet exist, doesn't it? Right. Whether it's inside of ourselves or something as big as the project the Dream Center has become. You're now ministering to how many people?
Oh, thousands. I really...
Hard to put a number on.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But we have about 700 residents living on campus, and these are people who are coming off of drugs, straight from prison, homelessness, suicidal attempts, depression. We have a program for victims of human trafficking. We take in homeless families. We take in teens. And so our philosophy at the Dream Center is whatever the need is in our neighborhood, we want to address. And so whatever that looks like, we've tried to help.
Yeah, I love the whole concept, and you write about it so well in your book, of the fact that everybody Everybody has a purpose, and God wants to use every single one of us. And maybe it's not a dream center that's in your future, but it might be the person next door with need. It's called Willing to Walk on Water. This is Caroline Barnett's book. It's available in stores nationwide. If you want to hear more from Caroline Barnett, we've got good news for you. She's going to be our guest speaker today at our CBN Chapel service, and you can watch her by going to our website at noon Eastern Time. And while there, check out Caroline's backstage interview in our segment called In the Green Room. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to have you here. The Lord bless you. Pat?
She's a beautiful lady, but that spirit resonates. She feels the pain of those people. God bless her.